What's going on, traders? Hope everybody's having a great weekend. Wanted to put out a video for the start of next week. Some analysis and thoughts on the S&P 500 and what to potentially expect coming into next week. Some areas that I will be watching if price does come into them, and formulate a game plan based on our levels and our triggers, and not based on any type of bias. With that being said, of course, this video is for educational and entertainment purposes only. No way should be viewed as financial advice. So let's get into some charts here. Now, obviously, a lot of things have changed since we saw that incredible rally in the markets coming right into the end of November into December, and now that New Year's hangover, that holiday hangover, has continued to be a thorn in the market side. But, you know, after how many weeks? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 weeks in a row of straight bullish activity, finally the sellers are stepping in and bringing us a little bit back to reality, right? So before we get really into the charts, let's look at the Market Watch economic calendar and see what we have on deck for next week, and then we'll do some deep dive into the charts and see what we could potentially expect. All right, so let's look at the calendar here. And Monday, really not too much going on. Consumer credit at 3 p.m. Trade deficit on Tuesday, 8:30. I'm not really too worried about either of those. Wednesday, wholesale inventories at 10 o'clock, and we have John Williams, New York Fed president, speaking at 3:15. But things start to get interesting for us on Thursday, January 11th. We have initial jobless claims at 8:30, as well as CPI coming out, so that'll be very interesting. High impact data there that we do want to pay attention to. It is very possible that Wednesday we may start to see some hesitation, some chop in the market just ahead of those data points. So just something that we should be aware of on Wednesday, maybe to be a little bit more defensive. Although CPI, unless it's really a outlier number, I really don't expect too much of a reaction in the markets, but either way, it is an important data point, so we should still be cognizant of that and see how the market reacts to it either way. Then on Friday the 12th, we have PPI coming in and core PPI at 8:30. So that's what we've got, and I believe Friday the 12th we do have earnings season starting to kick off. I do believe some of the banks are going to start reporting. Yeah, so we want to pay attention to that. I have not looked at the earnings calendar. I just saw it very briefly. I think Bank of America might be reporting, but either way, I will get that calendar and post it up probably to my Twitter at _SharkTrader. So keep an eye out for that. But you know, I'm not. You know, it's only probably the first one bank maybe reporting on Friday. But either way, we should just be aware that earnings season will be kicking off again very shortly. All right, so enough with the economic calendar. We've been through that. So let's get into some charts here and see what we can take away from these perspectives. All right, so we'll start off with the weekly here, and we've really started to break down. The red week goes without saying, and you can really see here, we had that strong momentum here. Momentum slowed down just a little bit, one more push, and you can really see the size of the candles getting smaller and smaller, indicating that upward pressure, that upward force was starting, momentum was starting to slow down. You can see obviously the difference in size of some of these weekly candles compared to what we started to look like before we started to roll over and kind of start to make this rounded top type of formation here. So from the weekly point of view, yes, of course, we're still in an uptrend, everything like that. But I will say that, from this view, and let's zoom in here a little bit and bring this up. From this viewpoint, unless price can start to take out this weekly candle, right? So we're gonna have to really get back over the lows of the week of the 25th. We're gonna have to really recapture that, right? If price can start to recapture that, then we can things will start to definitely look a bit better here. But until that happens, we can still have a little bit of a short overall short bias, I would have to say. It doesn't mean that there aren't going to be intraday long opportunities. There will be plenty, but we just have to keep this break in structure kind of at, in the background of our minds, and say, the longs, yes, there might be opportunities for that, but they will be a little bit more difficult to pull off versus how easy it was to buy every dip during this rally, right? And the rally went on for a lot longer than I thought, but the market loves to do this, gets everybody super comfortable with going long. Easy market to trade here when everything's just going up, and now the market's showing its other side and say, hey, hold on now, how quickly can you adapt? And that's what makes trading hard, because a lot of times traders cannot adapt to when the market shifts, and then they are wondering why buying the dips aren't working quite as well as they were in the previous month, and then they lose a lot of money. So with that being said, we just want to be cognizant here of that structure change, and that 473 area, right? So we'll be watching that. Another key level that we're going to be watching, of course, is going to be the previous highs of the summertime, right? And we can kind of make a zone, if we want to, because we'll take down here from the total body of this candle, and we can kind of come up here to the top, and really at the top of this wick here. But really what I'm going to actually do is take the high of the week of the 4th too, right, and come in here like so, right? And that gives us a nice a zone to work off of there, from basically 457.50 to 460.75, give or take. Nice confluence if price actually does start to come into that area here. Really nice confluence with that weekly 9 as well. So this really could be a nice trade for potential swings, and it could be the next setup for the launch pad if we do see price come down into this area and then we take off. Now again, I don't know, nobody knows if we'll break over that, of course, that key 470, and then we've got that 473, right? So it might not be a straight path, of course, but if we do start to see that push, we'll just look for that change of structure on the daily, and then we can kind of see what potentially may play out. But either way, I could definitely see this being a scenario where that sets us up, nice little pullback to that 9 on the weekly, and then boom, right? The other thing is that, when we were talking about this before in some of the other videos, look at the extension, right? We're still pretty dang extended from the 20 as well. So, once the price starts to really get away from these moving averages, that's when you really want to err on that side of caution, because it usually is a warning sign, right, that eventually price will start to come back and come and want to be closer to these. It's more indicative of a healthier quote unquote price action if we see it riding these moving averages, just like we saw back here in May. You can see how tight the price action was, just riding up, and you can see now what happened when with this huge space in between here. And not a lot of traders talk about space and time as far as just like location, maybe is a better word, and that distance, right, between the highest point and when we really get away from those short-term moving averages, right? You can see there's almost a whole week's worth of price action here, and I mean from here quite the distance, right, from the 20 all the way to this peak high. So these extremes definitely are worth paying attention to. Okay, so we're going to definitely pay attention, right? As I said before, 457.50, that 460.75, give or take, anywhere in that area I'll be watching. The daily 9 right now sitting 461.30, so maybe we don't actually get all the way down in there. So just keep an eye on that 461.30 as well. It could be anywhere in that zone, so I could even, just to bring in, the 9 into our area. It could be something like that, right? If you wanted to do that. So if we didn't have that out, just going on the pure price action, I would just go from the high from the week of the December 4th. So, it depends on what kind of trader you are and what you like to do. Okay, so let's move it along here. And let's go into our daily chart and see what we can take away from this perspective. All right, nothing's going to change about the level that we want to be watching here, but I will point out something else that's going to give us a little bit of a lower target. Okay, let me take this off for now. Be looking at this from a different view. Okay, the other thing that I will be watching, and this might play out. Do I want to go into that first, or let's talk about just what's going on here first before we go and get into that? Actually, you can see here bulls here yesterday. What was this? Yeah, the 5th tried to push up price, could not close over the daily 20. Honestly, it's not a convincing close for me under that daily 20. The daily 20 sitting at 468.15. We closed 467.92. Barely eking out a green day on Friday, but I think the bulls will fight and try to get us back over this daily 20. I'll be surprised to see if we close Monday below it, but we'll have to see how convincing a close it is over it either, too. So right now price is kind of pinched in between that daily 9 and 20, and clearly a downtrend here taking place from that daily chart perspective, and this structure break here is definitely something that we will be watching. The other thing that we want to see that could potentially play out, and sure, I could make a case maybe here for a kind of a head and shoulders type pattern starting to form here, right? But I want to see if really we start to make some type of an M, something like that, right? We try to push up higher. Let me just do this again. 1 second. So we're right here. And let's see, if we get something like this, we come down. Now maybe we only come up to this area and then we come down. Maybe we come a little bit higher, but I wouldn't be surprised maybe even to retest that structure at that 473 area. Really wouldn't surprise me here, but overall big picture, then also what will we be doing? Kind of creating an M, maybe a little bit of that head and shoulders, but also what would be happening if this in fact does play out is that we have our daily swing high here, and then what do we have here? Markets may actually put in a lower high in the trend sequence, right? And then we come down and either make another double bottom, equal low, or we actually break through. The one thing I will say here from that daily perspective, we kind of, there is no, hold on, I'm going to take that away. If this is going to be any type of, we kind of put in a poor equal low, for a lack of a better term here. You really, to really kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? To kind of really confirm this a little bit more bearish, I would have to say. Bears ideally would have wanted to see a lower low get put in here, and that can set us up for the higher low. We're kind of sitting at equal lows here, right, from the 15th. So, Monday, let's see what happens. Usually Monday can be a little bit more rangy, so let's be aware of that. But I still think here, if we have these being equal lows, maybe again, still we come back up. Whoops, I don't want to use that tool. Let me actually just draw this as this level. So we actually have a price there. Okay, 467, 467.25, right? So we could up, down, come up to here, retest the structure, and then we actually make the lower low, right? And if that happens, that's definitely going to be a bit more bearish. We kind of already just went over, what we have, our swing high, a lower high here, and then this would be really that more of a confirmation short here. And of course you wouldn't take this move down. You're going to be looking for the trade that comes back up, retest that previous, right, because we just made a lower low. The next thing we would look to see in the trend sequence would be a third high, lower high get put in, and like so. All right, and so that would be our higher low. This would be the area where you would have more favorable risk to reward for the short, coming up, back testing this break of structure, and that's when you hit the short trade to come on down like that, right? Okay, so that's the bearish scenario there. What could we see potentially here if these equal lows do actually hold up and we start seeing a push back up, ideally closing over 470, but really 470, 471 would be nice. Then we can start to look for that move back up into that 473, but still we have to get over that 473 for this uptrend to continue, or for a new uptrend to kind of reestablish itself. Right now it's, yes, we're in a bit of a downtrend on the daily, but it's still it's like a weak. We're not completely in a bearish stance, I would say. It's kind of like just like the weakest, like a very uncommittal bearish, kind of positioning right now, right? Because we haven't made that lower low. So it's really anybody's game right here. And I think that certainly with CPI could be the catalyst, maybe to propel us in one direction or the other, depending, of course, on how the market reacts. If it's just a flat line number, the market doesn't care, then we could still be stuck and maybe trade for a little bit, in this little range here. But I think over 470 for the bulls, got to get over that, and then we can start to work our way over that 473, and then we can potentially start to make that trade back up to the upside, right? Now another thing I kind of wanted to do here, let's take off this level. And what else I wanted to do here was do little fibs, right? I'm going to come in from the swing high from the summer. Oh, okay, I forgot what I was going to say also here. If we do continue falling, where would be somewhere that I think that maybe we could start to, potentially head into? And I think I might have mentioned this in the last video, but I'm going to go over it again here. Now, the prior consolidation, the prior balance zone really is also what I'm going to be watching right here, right? Okay, this also would make sense to me as a potential downside target, maybe around 460, even 460.25, anywhere down to 452 area. I could see really that playing out as well, and that's going to be coming back anywhere right all up into this area here, right? And that also gives us very nicely if we do get all the way down here. We're at the bottom of this balance range, and we're coming into the highs from the 9th. So anywhere in this area I think is also a worthwhile zone keeping an eye on. I'm just throwing on some numbers there so you guys can kind of have them, and put it out on your own charts. You can do what you want with that information. But I will be watching also and think that it is possible that price does come down and trade in this area. I don't have the volume profile on at the moment, but plenty of volume has been traded in here, and market will probably be seeking out some of that liquidity for the next possible move. We come down into here and we do something like that, right? So let's pay attention to that. Okay, now what I was originally wanting to do, let's pull it up now. I was going to put on some fibs here from those swing highs from summertime as my base. So I'm going to come in here and throw on fibs, right? Boom. And here are some levels also I feel like would be worth paying attention to. Let me just do this. Okay, here we go. There we go. Okay, so I will be watching right now. We're in that 50. We're in that pocket, right? 50% to 618 here. Let's pay attention. I wouldn't be surprised. Again, I was mentioning this is a kind of a non-committal close underneath underneath the 20, but really not the best candle. Yes, it did close green, but you can see how the bulls did try to push up higher and just really were unable to, and slam down here. So from that daily candlestick perspective, really not what you want to see. Having a that top wick. Where's the command I wanted to do? There we go. This is really not the candle you want to see if you are bullish, because what's it saying, right? The bulls tried to push up higher and totally failed to hold and to find acceptance up at these higher prices. So this is not what you really want to see here. Although it did close green, so sure, they did put up a little bit of fight, but that giant wick there at the top, obviously showing the sell pressure coming in on the market, right? So but now that we're looking at these fibs, let's pay attention. Definitely going to see if the bulls can start to get some daily closes over this 50% retracement. I do think that it's very possible, as I mentioned, that they're going to fight to get back over the 50% and try to make their way back up. I'll feel, from this daily chart perspective, you can start to feel a little bit more bullish, in my opinion, if we start to see price accept. And look at this really nice. Now, of course, this is dynamic. The 9's going to change, but beautiful confluence here with that daily 9 and the 38.2 extension sitting at 470.55. And that's really what I'm going to want to see for this daily structure to be repaired, right? As long as we stay under the 38.2, we'll still be pretty much looking from the daily picture perspective on a bearish bias. Weekly, of course, obviously is fine. We can pull back. We were talking about where the daily 9, the weekly 9 was earlier. So I think that was 461. So it could go all the way down there, totally be fine. From that weekly chart perspective, of course, the monthly never changed, bearish, as we went over in the last video. But another thing that we could see, and that we want to pay attention to, is that potentiality that we just chop inside of this area. I'd hate to say it, but if it's possible, we just chop in this area. Now, if we are above the 50%, if we're chopping between the 50 and the 38.2, I'd say this is a little bit better. This is still, it's not ideal because we're not over that 470.55, but I think that this would give us a little bit more of the idea, at least for me, that we could see that potentiality of actually breaking up over. However, if we spend time under the 50% retracement, basically under 468.30, 50, I'll call it. The actual number is 40, but I want to give it a little bit of room there. But if we still continue to see daily closes underneath that level, then really we're going to take that as bearish consolidation. And if we're just hanging out here like this, really kind of just setting us up in another type of bear flag for, I would more expect a move down to this 463 zone, probably anywhere in that area. My first main target probably would be 465, that whole number pivot there, and then 463 basically would be my next target if we do not start to see any daily closes back over 468.40, right? Okay. All right, awesome. That's pretty much everything I wanted to go over from the big picture setup. Let's take a look. Maybe we got some other charts here that we can peek at to see what we could take away from, if there is anything. Let's look at the weekly trends. Okay, we're not near any of those. So that's fine. I think we already put those fibs on there. Let's just see where the other fibs are. Oh no, that's not right. The daily fib, I don't know. Let's see. Yeah, these are going to be from a different swing low. Okay, so in this from this view, this is at 461.48. This area again from this view puts us into the top of that balance and gives us the 23.6 there. So I'm going to pay attention to this zone too. If we do break, obviously we've got the bottom of the balance, but in this case, looking at it from this viewpoint, this is kind of would say anticipate possibly coming into just the top part of this previous balance area, and maybe not even getting there, but anywhere from 461.50 to 459.17. So, and also I think that's where that weekly 9 is. Let's just throw that on there just to check out. Yeah, look at that. So definitely interesting from this viewpoint. Okay. This might be from here, and then we're done here. Okay. All right, let's move it along here. Let's bring up the dollar. The dollar has been making some moves, so I want to pull that up as well. Okay. So what's going on with the dollar here? Now, remember this channel, right? We've been watching this channel here, and so far we have just been bouncing right off of it. The top of this trend line here has not really been able to be seen price push under that. We're still holding the daily 9, barely over the daily 20. We kind of were watching that possible inverted head and shoulders taking place here. Tried to make a break over this neckline. We were talking last week about the 102.50 area, still keeping an eye on that. So remember, if we see price over that 102.50, we'll be looking for the potential moves to the upside. Maybe we'll just stop here. Maybe we've got a date with the 200 SMA at 103.40. That could be an area where price will go into, possibly get rejected there. But if we start getting over that, and we'll have to see, obviously it's dynamic, but if we start getting over the 200 again, then we'll be looking for price to come back into that 104, over 104, 104.50. Maybe we don't get that high, maybe 104.25. As you can see, we kind of got stuff there, so we'll keep an eye there. But either way, let's see what happens. Keeping an eye on that daily 200, as I'm sure a lot of big institutions watch that specific moving average. So let's see here. It tried to break out, couldn't break out, just kind of going sideways, but certainly in a potential bullish stance. Now the other thing is, though, let's also just keep in mind from the bigger picture, right? We've got this double top up here from back in October as our swing high, right? Right, okay, and then we had a lower high here, lower high here, and a lower high here. So from the trend perspective, obviously we are still bearish, right? Nothing's changed about that, but we just have to pay attention to that potential posturing of a shift in the in the trend. And what we can do is maybe put in a little trend line there, and depending on how you want to look at it, it's not going to work out. Let me just throw it on there. There we go. Okay, so we want to pay attention to this channel. I'll get them perfectly straight. Oh, wrong one. Okay, so we just want to pay attention to this channel. Like so. Okay. And if we start to break over that, then we can start to talk about another story. But kind of pinned in a rock and a hard place. But either way, let's pay attention to that channel and see what happens. Okay. So moving right along, let's look at TNX really quickly. It's been definitely making a move recently, and we want to pay attention to this as another potential headwind for this downtrend that we have been experiencing now. Now look at this. Now things are getting real interesting here for the TNX in that, and actually let's do this. So the one, and then we were talking about this last time, you can see exactly where we stopped here on rates, right? We couldn't get over the 41. So that 4.1% is what I am going to be watching. That's when I get a little bit nervous. We start seeing daily closes over that, but really kind of that rounded bottom taking place here. And I'm going to take some of these levels. I'm going to go to a blank chart. Come on. So we'll mark off again. Kind of 41 area that we want to pay attention to, or that I want to pay attention to, I should say. Whatever you want to do is fine. Okay, here we are. All right, there we go. And we'll do the same thing. We'll put in a little bit of a channel here. You can see it's kind of started to take that out. There we go. And another thing I would like to do here is just kind of point out this. Where is it? Okay, here, just kind of rounding this bottom, right? So as long as whoops, wrong one. So right now, you know, we closed over the daily 20 and the 9. We're reasonably convincing over the 20, and just kind of battling with the 200 here, sitting at basically, what is this? We're basically about 2 pennies underneath the 200. So let's see if they actually start to get some daily closes over that. That will be interesting. I do want to see if that happens, and if we do pull back, how price starts to react over there. The other thing that I will say is that kind of the structure in this move here kind of shifted right to the bullish side, so we can do this too. We can even do from here to here, right? So if rates here on the yield stays over this 39.20, 39, and basically 39.85. As long as price stays over this, now of course obviously it could chop, but the bulls have the 10-year has the chance to really make that move to the upside. If we break down under here, then okay, we can start to feel a little bit more comfortable about this not being a headwind. But as long as this holds, I would definitely keep an eye on this as it develops over the next this next week. Now it'll be very interesting to see how this also reacts as we have that CPI this week. So let's see what happens. We've got this area here. Let's pay attention to see if we start to get under or if it holds, right? So we've got our levels there. Let's pay attention to what happens. All right, moving along here. Okay, hold on. Let me see what's going on. I got a message. Okay. Oh, shoot. All right. Let's move this along. Okay. Let's go through just a couple of these quick. Interesting here. VVIX pulling in. Okay, I think that's interesting. Still underneath the 0 line for the 9 versus monthly, so no real terms of no real scares as far as volatility is concerned from that view. Still massively deep contango here on the future, so nothing there. And everything from volatility says nothing to worry about from this view. So that is interesting. Let's just take a look at a VIX really quickly. And put call. Oh, looks like interesting here. Puts are starting to roll in a little bit. We're starting to move away, but nothing too extreme yet from the put call ratio. But it is starting to shift here, so that is interesting. But look at this move here on VIX, getting crushed a little bit, down about 5% on Friday's session. Still just in this zone here where there's really no concern. We start getting over 15 and then 15.70, then we'll have something to talk about from the VIX perspective. But all is well and good in that viewpoint. Let's just check in on our 200R and our SPX 50R. Now we were talking too about this 92% area here on the 50R. And we are starting to see a little bit of that cool down. Same thing in the 200, not as extreme, but we want to pay attention here on the 92. Do we start to do something like we saw basically on the daily chart on the markets, where this kind of rounds over, right, and starts to head back down, maybe towards this 74%. So let's see here what goes on. But we were talking about a little bit of a bullish divergence going on in both these internal readings, and they're starting to go away now. So starting to lose that divergence, and now this is starting to catch up. So that is a little bit of a bearish inclination here. But of course, like I said, big picture, we're over 50%. We could come back to 74%, totally fine, and then push back up from there. We could come down to 50%. We only really get very worried for about, quote unquote downtrends and things like that once we get under 50% there. So yeah, we can pull back, plenty of room to pull back and totally be fine. Okay, so let's take a quick look at transports as we were looking at this bearish divergence, and continuing to take it on the chin here, as long as it stays under 1550, 1550 345. As long as we stay under that, I could see price coming down on about another 75 points or so down. My next big area would probably be testing the lower part of this previous balance, the bottom of this flag from December. So let's see if price comes down into that 216 area. If it does, could be a nice pickup there, right? For at the very least a move back up to 15,534. And then for potentially short again, and then it actually price may just hang out and consolidate in this area. But from the looks of this, it looks like we're really going to be setting up on some type of a bear flag here. We tried to recapture that area, and as long as we can't, we could see price just go like this sideways, and then boom down here. So let's see what happens there. I do know Boeing, of course, is big in the Dow, and it did get some bad news over the weekend. So we'll see how that affects the diamonds. Okay, let's move along here. Let's get not really too much has changed from our day trading levels that we have been watching overall. So let's just go over those again really quickly. But really, again, not too much has changed, so we won't spend too much time on those. Okay, so all right, so here we are, and what I'll be paying attention to here next week, from this viewpoint, as long as we don't really get back below, I would say this 467.80 area. If we start to break below this, I will be looking a little bit more towards the short side to look to trade back down. Potentially anywhere into this area here, so that could take us down to 467 or 466.50 thereabouts. We start really getting under these lows, then we'll be probably looking to trade under 466.55, looking to trade back down into 466, and under Friday's pre-market lows, then it would be very likely that we probably would come back and retest this 830 low, back down closer to 465, 464. And I do know I made a post at some point last week saying that 465, and I think we were talking about it earlier as well, that 465 really is that next kind of target area to the downside that I will be potentially watching. We did touch it, but this was with data, so I don't really count that as the target hitting. But and obviously it got bought back up really quickly and is in pre-market. So we really would need to see a move back over that 468.50 area. Then we can look for those trades back in here over 468. I think we can put some hurting on the bears, probably rally back up into the 468, the high 469s, excuse me. That is definitely a possibility as well. For that big squeeze kind of really to happen and that moves potentially to 471, gotta get over 470.45, right? That's where we saw that big rejection there. If we do take that out, the next target's going to be that equal high from Thursday, right? We do have that 200 right now sitting right at that 470.50 as well. Let me just throw on a couple of different views here. What is some of our, let's get our swing arms really quickly and see if what levels they give us. Okay, from the 30-minute viewpoint, still has us bearish unless we get over that same level, that 450, that 470.50. Let's look at it from an hourly perspective. I don't know if this flipped. Okay, so the hourly actually has the trend changing here. So this is a bit of a good viewpoint for the bulls potentially. That really all the way down to basically the pre-market lows of Friday's session. There are bulls and buyer liquidity under here. So hey, that's a little bit of a good sign there that we could be starting to see a shift. Definitely the first time that the bulls really gave it a try, right? And we broke over. So the one thing I don't like here, the whole wave is showing a little bit of that trend weakness coming in. You would want to see this dark green or bright green and price above it. But yeah, so a little bit conflicting here, and this also kind of with the hourly kind of bullish from this reading and the 30-minute bearish, that could lead more into that chop into Monday, right? So we'll be aware of that. But I will say, if we really start to get over this 471, I don't think it would be out of the question we could see price come back maybe to the Wednesday pre-market highs, 472.80s thereabout, and then be looking back up at the this 12 o'clock swing high from Tuesday's session, 473, 473.50, anywhere in that area would be the next target, and then 474, right? Okay, let's just look at a couple of balance zones here, see how they played out. Let's extend each. Okay, and let me get this off. Okay, the other thing I kind of wanted to point out here, from the from the trend perspective, we still, right, we got our swing high, a lower high, lower high, lower high, lower high, lower high. Okay, so let's not forget that, right? We can even, I'm just doing this really quickly. I'm not going to line it up perfectly at this moment. Shoot. But, you can make a channel here. I mean, sometimes, after a while, there you go. So keep an eye on this channel, right? Mark off this 30-minute hourly channel, so that way you do know, because if we do start to break above with that kind of volume, then we might be looking at a different type of chart here. But let's just keep these, the trend sequence in mind of what's going on here. Okay, with that being said, okay, holding over 468.85, we could potentially, well, really, then we've got to get over 468.50. But if we get over that, we can look for those trades to potentially come up. I don't know if we're going to come back up to our half gap, right? Because we've got this damn trend line here in this area. And I'm not even, so going to be a little bit tricky. And really, you can say, let me just see. You can even say something like that as well. It's a little tough. I don't know if we can get over this, and if we do get over this downtrend line, okay, 470.50 is going to be the next target. Yes, the possible double top there. You can see the lows from here and from here, a triple top set up there. But then if we do get rejected, right, if we see price break through, come up, get rejected, come back, retest, BRB, and then we can make our move. So that's a setup that I definitely will be watching as a potentiality. I probably would stay away from this short if I was going to look to go long like that and just wait for the retest. But if you want to be, a maniac and try to catch every move, which I do not suggest, you could come up short and then down here. I don't know. Again, I don't know if it's going to break, so no one does here. So we could just come up here, reject, come back down, bounce back up, back to that. Oops, no, I knew that was going to happen. and then come back down and kind of get, we could get mashed up in this area here, and then either it's going to break and bring us that way, or we're going to break down, right? Under 468, 80, 85, we're looking for those trades, like I said, back down into towards the lows, right? Okay, and under 466, 72, we're looking for trades back down into this area here, the pre-market lows. I'd be interested in a possible buy in that area, or even better if we came down to 465, 42, 64, 80, 90 area. We see price come back into here. You can see how nicely, again, it reacted right here at the top of this balance. So if we do see price come down here, I will be looking for a trade potentially up like that. Again, I don't know if that will reject, but maybe we just break through and come back up into that trend line. But if we do get something like this, maybe we set up with a nice inverted head and shoulders, right, with this low here being the neckline, right? So, all right, guys, that's all I've got. I hope this helps. Thank you all so much for joining me on this video. Really appreciate the support. What do you think we get next week? Do you think the market still even cares about CPI? Do you think markets are going up this week, down? Love to know your thoughts. Again, if you're enjoying the content, the videos, and you haven't already subscribed, it mean a ton to me if you did. And even just the thumbs up helps not only the YouTube algorithm, but lets me know that you guys are enjoying the videos and finding it helpful. And, you know, hey, it makes me smile. It means a lot to me as well. And just a little thing you can do. All right, so have a great rest of your weekend. Be safe, and I will see you guys on Monday. Take care.